sort of split it up a bit. To be quite honest with you, just once a year wouldn't really bother me for that. So they need to sort of maybe, but I do think that it's gone past that now, and and all the rest of it. But yeah, we did have a lot of emails about that, people asking about the inconsistencies and what we thought. Matt, let's move on now and more to what's coming up this week. In fact, let's move to that. We've got WWE Fastlane, the last stop before WrestleMania, and of course it's on the Raw side. Are you excited for this? Are you not excited for this? Is it worth doing this pay-per-view, or is it not?
In some ways, it kind of has me really questioning why they're doing it. Especially when I'm looking at some of the matches on there, and I'm looking at like Roman versus Braun, and I'm thinking, you can't really afford to damage either of them this close to WrestleMania. You need to have both of those guys coming in strong. But, if you're going to put them in a match against each other, one of them has to come off as the loser. And in certain instances like that, I kind of wish they weren't having the pay-per-view that close to WrestleMania, because it doesn't really make that much sense. And also, like a match like Goldberg versus Kevin Owens, this is like a real clash of styles here. We got like Kevin Owens, who can pretty much do anything in that ring, and Goldberg, who can do one thing in that ring, put on a high impact match in under 5 minutes. It kind of definitely has me questioning it.
Yeah, I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about these matches, because it is a bizarre card. I mean, I think the only match on it that I think's got real significance at the moment is the women's match, quite frankly, because I'm interested to see, are they going to still remain with Charlotte with the streak, or are they going to, have Bayley go over this close to WrestleMania? And I already feel like they've ruined the moment for her. Let's put it that way. It's almost like they got too impatient with that. I think we spoke about that last week, but. Yeah, I mean, these matches, Matt, I mean, we've got a tag match, we've got a cruiserweight match. I think we kind of knew they were coming, those ones. But, you touched on Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, that this isn't a match WWE can afford to have it go wrong, because both, you want to see them both go right. This kind of reminds me of what we kind of got between Luke Harper and Randy Orton. But then, knowing what we know now, I have no idea why Luke Harper went over, didn't maybe get a win or something, because he probably needed it, and then Orton's still the Rumble winner, so that would have done Luke some good. Might have actually believed he's got a chance. But at this point, Matt, do we look at this and think, Roman Braun is going to be nothing more than a no contest, or some sort of, somebody coming out, or something like that? Is that what they're going to go with here, or do you think we will actually get a clean finish? Because I doubt we will.
It feels like it should be like a no contest, but then this whole thing between Braun and Roman, it's not just a new thing. They've been brewing this for ages. Like, they've had on and off kind of instances where they've been at each other's throats, and it's just kind of the point now where I don't want to see this going on any longer. I just wish there was going to be an end to this kind of thing. But they both needing to come out looking strong. So it just definitely has me worried, because they're booking this like it's going to be such a big match, such an important match, and they're both moving on to different things at WrestleMania, so you would hope that they would tie up this loose end. But it just leaves me wondering, will this set up a match at WrestleMania for one of these two guys? Someone getting involved or something like that?
Yeah, well, if we're led to believe what we're to believe, it's, they're going with Undertaker and Roman, but, very odd the way things are going. To be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me. Roman will probably go over clean the way they book him, but, who knows? I really, because I've been really impressed with Braun. I thought it was a great match that he had last week, by the way, on Raw with the Big Show. Really liked that match. I think you said it as well, Matt, how good that was, and then I had to watch it, and it was a good match between two big guys. And if anything, that would have been a great showcase at WrestleMania if they'd have booked that right. If they'd have had Big Show coming back strong, that would have been perfect. I felt that sort of thing for a WrestleMania. But it was a great match for Raw. So who knows? As also we got obviously the Raw Women's Champion. Matt, do you think Charlotte wins this, and that's part of the story now, and we go into WrestleMania with Charlotte as the champion, and then the likelihood is on the Raw after WrestleMania she'll probably lose it, that sort of thing. I mean, well, how far is this going to go now? Because I said it really was a bit weird last week, and I wasn't a fan of this whole Bayley becoming champion already, because I just feel like they've missed out on such a big moment, and I have to say I didn't enjoy the promo she did either last week. I felt like that was a little bit off. What did you think about that, Matt? Just touching on that on Raw, the moment she had with Stephanie.
Yeah, you're coming up against like one of the biggest heels that has ever been in WWE against Stephanie, and if you can't hold your own on the mic, it's not that great of a sign. And I'm not saying that like Bayley hasn't got the right talent for this. I'm just saying that not always everything that's worked on NXT is going to work on Raw. And Bayley was great as the underdog on NXT and had that connection with the fans. And I'm not saying she has to turn heel or anything. It's just that they could lose this whole aspect that she's not really 100% a wrestler. She's also like a fan that happens to be a wrestler, more than like they should just say, no, she's just a wrestler now.
Sure.
This whole fact that they focus on her dream and like how she aspired to be a wrestler as a child, that's no different from anybody else. That's no different from her counterpart like with Sasha Banks. These people all had like aspirations to become wrestler and put in an incredible amount of hard work, and that's how they got where they are. They should just focus maybe a little bit on different areas of her personality these days.
I totally agree with that.
I am totally like on board with what you're saying, though. I definitely want to see how they're going to play this out at the pay-per-view, because personally, I hope they keep Charlotte's winning streak intact, because it would be a nice accolade for a different wrestler, because Bayley, of recent weeks before she won this title, hasn't really been booked the best way. She's looked pretty weak at points.
That's why it surprised me that they have her winning, so far. But there you go. I think I would like to see Charlotte win as well. I never thought I'd say that, but it's very damaging for Bayley. I will say that much. I'm really surprised that they've done that so close to WrestleMania. I really felt like they could have done better there. Matt, I guess Goldberg, Kevin Owens. I was very impressed with the way Heyman came on about and was talking up Owens. I think it's the best thing for him in a long time. And also, when he got the mic, Matt, he seemed like a bit more of his old self when he was talking about Goldberg and not believing the hype. And when he was younger, he didn't, he never really cared about him too much. I kind of liked that Kevin Owens better than the comedic Kevin Owens that we've sort of seen with Chris Jericho. And I know that people will say, oh, that's just as good. And it is good. But I like Kevin Owens when he's serious. I don't really like too much of the comedy act. I think you can do that, but I don't think the comedy acts, I did say this a while ago, I don't think it really should be at the main event level. I think that's something you do at the Intercontinental, and I did feel for Owens, but I think this is, what I saw on Raw is much more the Owens I would like to see. But Matt, are we going to see that smashed? Like so many people keep saying at the moment, and certainly the bookies do anyway. Are we going to see an absolute run through by Bill Goldberg, who took out Brock Lesnar in 1 minute 26 seconds? Is it going to be even worse than that? And is Kevin Owens going to die very fast on this title run, and that's the end of him? What's your take on predictions?
Well, I've got to be honest. Like, of recent years, I've held Brock Lesnar as the sort of standard bearer.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brock Lesnar could beat anybody on any day,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact now that they have like given the thumbs up to Goldberg and said like you can beat Brock after this many years, of him being a dominant force in WWE, kind of tells me like Owens, he hasn't really come into this with much of a chance.
Wow.
And it's a real shame because Owens is incredibly talented, and he needs this more than Goldberg does. Now, that title right now is what's making Kevin Owens, because he's been booked as kind of like a coward, and I'm really done with these coward heels these days. You know, they think it's going to generate heat for them, but it really doesn't, because we all know how good these wrestlers are, and it's just like generates negativity towards WWE portraying them this way. You know, if you want to go back and watch Ring of Honor and see what, you know, Kevin Steen has accomplished and everything, it's nothing like they're showing him to be in WWE right now.
Yeah, this is another thing. I think this is all booked round the wrong way. I said about Randy Orton winning the Royal Rumble, I felt that was a mistake. I think they should have. I mean, now looking at it, Matt, if they do end up going, by the way, we're going to get to SmackDown in a minute with that Battle Royal, by the way, but if they did end up going, Matt, with Luke Harper, wouldn't it have been an amazing story if Luke Harper would have won that Royal Rumble now, looking back at it, and give him a bit of credibility for this? Or at least... Yeah, go on, mate.
I would have totally loved that, because that would give me so much of the nostalgic feel that I used to have about Royal Rumbles, where it was so unpredictable, so unexpected. And like you said earlier in the podcast, like, when is the road to WrestleMania truly begin? It always did used to begin at Royal Rumble, because you got some Royal Rumble was creating a new them up and make them look great for the WrestleMania match.
Sure.
But, you know, what we get with Randy Orton is we get the same old.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with me. I feel like, you know, they could have at least had Bray Wyatt winning it, and give him something going into this, rather than, like, it makes so much better if he's going into WrestleMania going for that title rather than winning it at the Elimination Chamber. That's just my opinion on that one, and perhaps having Randy win the championship at the Chamber instead would have made a little bit more sense if they still want to go that way. But I kind of feel the same with this. I kind of like when they threw out the idea that it could possibly be Brock Lesnar that takes on Kevin Owens. I was probably more, you know, if Owens has to lose, I kind of prefer if it was Lesnar, because I think it's a better match for Owens. But losing against Goldberg, it just makes him look like a very big transitional champion now, who's held that belt for a long time since Finn Balor got injured, and yet we know really little. We haven't really got a lot from him, and you know he's at risk, Matt, of losing the belt this Sunday and falling into obscurity for a while. That's the problem with Kevin Owens. You know, I don't want to see him where Dean Ambrose is, or, you know, like where Seth Rollins. You think how much difficult it was, even when he come back, how difficult it was for him to get back in the fold of things. So yeah, there are definite problems with that, and again, I question why they have to have the WWE Universal title on the match with Brock Lesnar and Goldberg. Personally, I think that match sells itself anyway, so I don't really know why we've got to get that. The only thing the only thing it makes sense about is if, okay, they give Brock the title, and then this goes back to the situation when we had a few years ago where Brock won the title, or held the title after he beat John Cena. And you give it to the next guy, and you haven't beat Brock in a big match. That is the only way this works out. But quite frankly, I just feel for Kevin Owens this close to WrestleMania, and it's almost, Matt, we're going to have two champions going into this year's WrestleMania on paper, and you know they've only just won the belts in the last sort of month building up to it. It makes WrestleMania a lot less for me. Let's put it that way. I used to prefer where, you know, the guy challenging, especially if he'd won the Royal Rumble, that match, was challenging the champion that had kind of cemented himself as an established, credible champion. And, you know, that could have been Kevin Owens, quite frankly, in that role. So a little bit of a shame on that one. But, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Don't forget, folks, we'll have a full review on that this week, and, you know, we'll definitely pick things up from there. Hopefully we'll be sort of somewhat surprised, Matt. Okay, guys, I think it's time now to... it's that nostalgic feel, Matt. It's the only thing we can get a little bit of a buzz off here, is this music. It's WrestleMania. We're going to be talking about the week, what's coming up. Folks, WrestleMania week, we're going to have our regular show on the Monday. We're going to have Wrestling Arts Magnificent 7. Myself and Matt will be listing